From each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are. From memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried. And with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight. Reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. We want to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July. Hope everybody can spend some lovely time this weekend, relaxing and enjoying with family and friends. But today, on the complete opposite of the 4th of July, we are diving into Deep Dive Disney Feature Lines film number 108 from December the 22nd from 1972. It's a Christmas film. Not really, but it is a film called The Snowball Express. Now, have you heard of the Snowball Express before this deep dive? No. I mean, it was on Disney Plus, so many people have. But before I pull it over to you for the synopsis of the Snowball Express, let me tell you about the returning cast of characters that we have in this, because this returning cast, this all-star cast that we have here, it gives Mary Poppins a run for its money. But we have the return of course, Dean Jones. The return of Nancy Olson, the return of Harry Morgan, the return of Keenan Wynn, who is, of course, the son of Edwin, Johnny Whitaker, our friend from recently. We have Michael McGreevy, we have George Lindsay, and we have Mary Wicks. Quite the returning cast from previous films that we've watched so far. So pretty much any film that we've watched recently, somebody from that film is in this film. But would you like to kick us off with opening thoughts and the synopsis of The Snowball Express?
Sure. I had never heard of this. Apparently, there is another movie with the same title. I didn't look to see if it was Disney also. Okay, well, I'm not done yet. It came out in 2019, so it was like super recent, and I didn't hear of that one either. So, anyway, synopsis. When John Baxter inherits a ski resort in the Rocky Mountains, he quits his job in New York and moves west to run it, only to find his estate in a state of total dilapidation.
Giving away all the plot points.
Yeah.
So thoughts on this film, or any facts that you have before we do the dive? Where we throw snowballs in 4th of July?
There wasn't a lot of trivia facts. It was filmed in Crested Butte, Colorado.
Makes sense.
And then there's a guy in the film called Jesse McCord, played by Harry Morgan. He stated in the movie that he was single and 75, but he was actually 57.
Yeah, he does.
Which I thought was funny.
75-year-old. I mean, he plays an older man, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That was pretty much the only. And it's the 75th live action Disney film.
It's the 108th Disney Deep Dive.
Yep.
So, we're going to dive right in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So this is a live action film, as you can see in the picture if you're watching along. We start off with a shot of a city and like a hectic office building.
Mm-hmm.
We see Mr. Baxter. John, you said his name was?
Yes, John Baxter.
I refer to him as Mr. Baxter throughout this whole film because that's what they refer to him as. So Mr. Baxter, who's played by Dean Jones, he is clocking in late and he's full of excuses and his boss is not happy.
Mm-hmm.
But when he gets to his desk, there's an attorney there, and he's very confused of why there's an attorney there to meet with him.
Mm-hmm.
We learn that his great uncle, who he didn't even know, had passed away, and he is next of kin and of the estate. He has inherited the Grand Imperial Hotel in Silver Hill, Colorado. He's done it. He's hit the money. He's excited. This hotel can take in up to $14,000 a month. Now, in 1972, that's a lot of money. I didn't even look that up, but it's a lot of money now. But like $14,000 a month.
I thought he told him it was bringing in $14,000 a month, not that it could.
Yeah, he could say it was bringing in $14,000 a month.
Okay.
Well, you don't. How recent are those papers? You don't know.
Well, that's why I was wondering because like homeboy quit his job for this.
After 11 years of working in this miserable job, he decides to quit. And on his way out, and he's pulling one of those like, you're awesome, you have nice legs, like
So weird.
causing like a whole
The
commotion.
nicest legs in the office.
Yeah. Um, he like hits
Like
the.
that wouldn't hit sexual harassment
I mean, he doesn't
in
care. He's
nowadays.
quitting. So he hits this like giant computer, like old-fashioned computer. He like hits it, causing the paper to go everywhere. He causes like this giant mess, but he's all excited because he can quit his job that he hates.
Yeah.
Anything about the job before we move on to the next?
Yes. Do you think that the reference to this movie in the park is Spaceship Earth?
No, it can't be, but there is actually a reference to this um near the Frontierland shooting arcade, which is going away, or it could be gone by now, but there's like a sign next to it that's like in Frontierland that's like talking about going to
Silver Hill?
Silver Hill, Colorado.
You didn't think the computer in Spaceship Earth
Yeah, but
nailed it?
that's an actual like
Okay.
direct reference. So,
Whatever.
but he gets home, he tells his family.
Time out. Did you know that that was there before we watched this?
Yeah, I watched the video on it.
Okay.
Um,
I was just wondering how you do.
I watched a video on it a long time ago about references in the parks. But
Okay.
how do you think we got our first references in the parks video?
We looked really hard for them
I know, but a lot of them we knew where they were.
because we have been to the parks.
Yes. Okay, whatever.
Don't ruin it for me, Jeff.
Yeah, whatever. He gets home, he tells his family he has a son, a daughter, and a wife, all famous Disney actors and actresses.
Mhm.
His family is not as excited as he is. They are not stoked about him quitting his job and having to move across the country to
Yeah.
Colorado, where
The
I
daughter
was last
actually
week.
cries and runs away.
Yep. Even his dog walks out of his story. Then the opening credits roll because
I had
this
it
is
in
the
my
longest
notes
opening
that
credits.
once again we have Dean Jones playing a character that has a huge dream, and his entire family just has to go along with it.
True. But
He
then,
was good at this role.
yep, I mean, he is the leading character. After all of that, the opening credits roll. So that was all pre-opening credits, and we are driving through a snowy town
Mhm.
looking for a hotel.
Yeah.
He asks for directions, and another famous Disney actor, um, he's like, says that no one has ever even heard of this hotel. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, it's a $14,000 a month hotel. I mean, no one's ever heard of it. And they're like, oh, maybe it was in Idaho or something. But no, it was
Wyoming.
Wyoming. No one's ever heard of the hotel. So then he mentioned who owned it. And they're like, oh, you mean Crazy Jake? And then they gave him directions to Crazy Jake's backwoods place.
Mhm.
So they finally find the place, like the hotel they're looking for. It is completely covered in snow. It is all boarded up. It is filled with spider webs. It is completely unlocked. Want to talk about anything more about the building there?
No, I think I did in the synopsis when I said it was completely dilapidated.
Yep. There's no electricity. There is no warmth. It is filled with bats. And Mr. Baxter's like, all right, well, we own this. We're gonna stay the night.
Yeah, it would have been my dream home.
Ugh.
It was very cool looking on the outside. It reminds me of this book that I read called The Family Game. Um, like that's what I imagined that family's house looking like.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't.
I mean, it was very fancy and the family had a lot of money, but
Yeah, that's not the case here. So this
it's
house,
potential.
yeah. So this hotel is definitely seen better days. It is not what they thought it was.
Hmm.
There is a family of raccoons living in the oven, and the wife and daughter.
Get in the oven.
They said they asked that question because when
No, he asked how they got in the house.
talking about in the bear. I mean,
But
there's a hole in the
not
back.
only how did they get in the house? How did they get inside the oven?
No.
Yeah.
The wife and daughter again walk out on him. They end up like everyone's upset, so they all go outside, and he's like, "No, it's okay," and they end up having this big giant snowball fight to like
Mhm.
take out their aggression. Um, that night, while they're lying in bed trying to stay warm because they're freezing
Mhm.
in one of the rooms, she's like, Mrs. Baxter's like, at least we have X amount of money. I forgot what it was. Like, at least we have X amount of money from this will, and he's like, I already started spending the money because like the lawyer cost a bunch of
The lawyer
money and
fee.
like the travel fee, so like they already started spending the money. So they spent all this money to obtain this freezing cold place.
Can you imagine?
No. And then they hear like a very loud noise coming from downstairs, and they're like, "Oh, maybe it's a really big raccoon." And then he's like, "I have to go check." And she's like, "Take the dog with you." And he's like, "I'm not taking this 200-pound scaredy cat or whatever, chicken or whatever." And
We
whatever.
don't need a 200-pound chicken.
So he ends up taking the dog with him to go try to figure out what this noise is because they
After
really
they heard more noises.
yeah because everyone thinks it's a bear because they keep talking about, is there a bear in the house? Is there a bear in the house?
Yeah.
Is there a bear in the house? So then the kids,
And it sounds much larger than a raccoon.
the son and daughter also are going to check what it is, and they see like the shadow
Of the dog.
of the dog, and they scream in fright, which scares the mother.
Scares everybody.
Yeah. So then, like I'm sorry, the whole family goes to investigate,
Mhm.
and they see not a bear, but a man who is snooping around the kitchen, and everybody gets startled. Um, the man is there to get his bottle of alcohol, which
Wasn't he in the kitchen? I thought he was in the basement.
no, I think he was in the kitchen.
I didn't
Because
think
he
he
had
left
like
the kitchen like
stored
this.
his alcohol. It's like a commercial kitchen because it's like a hotel.
Okay.
And he gets like his bottle of alcohol, but he ends up dropping it because he gets scared. The two men argue, and we learn that this guy's name is Jesse McCord, who's a 75-year-old guy or whatever you said,
But he really was only 57
and
or 52.
he has been allowed to stay there by the previous owner, and,
No,
and
he
they're
was
like
57.
and they're like you can't stay here, and he's like, well,
I was supposed to own half.
I was supposed to own half or whatever. So they end up giving him a room for $10 in advance. Um, and then Mr. Baxter's like, no, he has to go, but then the whole family convinces him to let the man stay, McCord stay, and
Mhm.
he will work as the bellhop in the hotel.
Yep.
Uh, McCord tells Baxter all about the history of the hotel, and he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go to the bank and I'm gonna get a loan so we can fix this up and get our money back. But he goes to the hotel and he is declined.
The bank.
I'm sorry, the bank. Goes to the bank and the bank and he is declined. The owner of the bank, whose name I wrote down later, um,
Wynn's
yeah,
character.
it's Edmund's son. Yeah,
What was his name?
he's in a couple films that we've watched so far too.
Ridgway.
Ridgway.
Martin.
Yep. So Ridgway.
Your favorite name, Martin.
Yep. I'm gonna refer to him as Ridgway. The rest of this. The owner of the bank, Ridgway, says that he wants to buy the hotel, so that's why he declined him. Um,
Because he wants to turn it into a boys' home.
correct.
Hmm.
And so they end up having to walk through the snow back to the house, defeated because they didn't get
Time out. There's a lady that works in the office of Ridgway in the bank,
the assistant.
and
I don't know what her name is, but
she makes snide comments the whole time, like under her breath, like, "Oh yeah, boys' home." So you can tell that Ridgway's up to something,
Mhm.
and she knows it, and she's basically letting us know. Okay, sorry.
It's true. On their way back through, they are visited by a snowmobiler, um, who has this like made together, built like pieces from different snowmobiles into this one snowmobile. And he tells them about the
Skylar, but his name's not Skylar in this movie.
yeah.
God, what was his name?
What I don't know. I'll probably get there later. He tells them about the annual snowmobile race. They learn that, and at this point, they learn that they own a lot of land, like as a land far enough as the eye can see.
Yeah, I think it's weird that a lawyer comes to you, tells you that you've inherited all this stuff,
Mhm.
but basically only tells you about the hotel. So you don't realize that you also own all this land. Like you keep finding out you own more than you actually knew about in the beginning. What kind of lawyer doesn't know that when they're telling you this?
Yeah, no, it's wild.
Because it's like, you just keep finding out that you own things. Like it kind of keeps getting better and better, and when you thought it was getting worse, like a snowball effect.
Literally.
You're welcome. Um, I really want to know that boy's name though. Anyway, so that guy definitely provides some comedic effect. He has a heart of gold. And it looks like he might be slightly a little bit older than the daughter, maybe somewhat around her age. But he is very clumsy, but he is always willing to help do
Yeah.
anything that needs to be done.
He is like that character for sure.
He definitely adds the comedic effect and um also like Jesse is able to tell Baxter exactly more and more about what he owns, more so than the lawyer. And this kid kind of seems clueless, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Um, so at this point, Mr. Baxter's like, we own all this stuff. Like that's awesome. I'm gonna open up a ski lodge. People come here to ski. I'm gonna open up a ski lodge.
Well, he actually talks to his wife about it,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Oh, I've got this idea." And she's like, "Oh," he's like, what is the number one sport right now?" And she was like, "Bowling."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yes, that's my kind of lady."
Uh,
And he's like, "No, try again." And didn't she say something else
mm,
before she got on to skiing? I
yeah.
don't even know if she said skiing. He might have told her
Well, that's from
skiing.
they're from New York. Um,
Well, if
so
you're from New York, I feel like you probably have more opportunity to ski.
yeah.
Anyway.
So he goes to a different bank. The other bank will meet with him,
Mhm.
but he talks about how they're gonna go skiing. Kind of like in a few films before, with the dean of the school lies about being able to golf. This dude lies about being able to ski.
Yeah.
There's some hijinks and some CGI skiing.
Yeah.
Baxter crashes into a tree,
Oh yeah. Well,
which will become a recurring
it,
thing.
it it just it starts off with humor, and
Well, don't get it mixed with the one later.
no, him getting on the ski lift with this guy.
Mhm.
And you can clearly tell this guy knows nothing. So before they get on the ski lift, the guy was like checking his bindings and stuff. So he tells him, he's like, "Oh yes, I like to check my bindings before I get on the lift." And he's like, "Yeah, me too." And then they kind of get on, and then like the whole time, it's like you can tell he has never done this before and he is slightly nervous. And then they get on the ski lift and he is like almost holding on to the guy, kind of like,
Yeah.
"Oh God, what are we doing?"
Yeah. So they end up whatever. They go skiing, and they end up being able to be lended $3,000,
Mhm.
and they begin to pour love into the snow cottage, into the hotel. Sorry, I don't know why I call it a snow cottage, um, but then in typical Disney unfortunate fashion, the water heater explodes, which goes through all their funds right away, which is also a reoccurring theme of this film. Anything about that?
No.
But the exploding water heater causes an ad, causing a co
Wally. His name's Wally. The kid that
Oh, I was like the water heater?
no, because he was the one that like was like, "Oh yeah, I can fix it."
Yeah. So it causes an avalanche, and this avalanche, because of course it does, conveniently blocks a train full of skiers.
Hmm.
So they're gonna make a makeshift ski resort and a makeshift ski lift for them to be able to use the property. Can you talk about this makeshift ski lift that they use that they find?
It was some kind of steam engine,
Yeah.
and they
They like
couldn't,
roped it up.
yeah, they couldn't figure out how to move it. And the son, which was in a few films before this, was trying,
Johnny, whatever. Like he's the kid that's been in all the films lately.
yeah, um, he tells his dad, he's like, "Well, I have this idea," and he's like, "Not now, not now, da da da,"
Yeah.
and he like never wants to hear him. And then finally later, he's talking to the mom, and the mom's like, "Well, your son came up with this," and hands him a piece of paper.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Well, if that can pull all this, why can't it pull itself?" And he's like, "Huh." So then the next scene, they're back out in the snow, and this steam engine is pulling itself up the
Yep.
mountain.
So they like attach some ropes to it to make it into a ski lift so everybody can ski and they can make some money.
But it's not like your typical ski
No, yeah,
lift.
you would like hold on and
So
you
you
get pulled up
basically
there.
just hold a rope
Yeah.
and it pulls you up on your skis. So,
Yeah.
so you're not like riding in a chairlift,
Mhm.
I guess.
Like not a gondola type deal.
Yeah.
The instructor, who is Wally, like you just said,
And he basically knows nothing about skiing either, but it
nope.
sounds like.
So he's like skiing with these people.
But he's getting room and board for this.
The instructor, Wally, he ends up going over the edge, and he's like hanging on by like a little tree.
Well, the tree's bigger than him, but
Yeah, but it's like
it's not a huge tree, and he's
yeah,
just kind of
nervously hanging on.
yeah.
So they're like, all right, well,
Poor Wally.
Mr. Baxter uses like this ski lift thing,
They should have named him Murphy,
I guess.
like Murphy's Law.
I guess.
Everything bad happens to him.
Everything bad happens in this film period. So Mr. Baxter uses like the ski lift machine to try to like assist, like lowering him down, but he almost falls over the edge himself. They're both hanging from the tree, but then they end up being able to use this machine,
Hmm.
um, to like lower him down to save him.
Hmm.
Uh, but because they're like overpowering this machine, some fiery wood comes like out of like the boiler system,
Yeah.
and it's like sitting next to the machine, like on fire.
It's sitting, there's a piece of like embery
Yeah.
burning wood that is literally um propped up against part of the rope that is holding the steam engine in place.
Um,
As I'm hysterically laughing the entire scene.
yeah. So they end up using the machine to be pulled back to safety after some tense going back and forth. But um, while they're celebrating, the fiery stick burns a hole through the rope,
Hmm.
and the giant rig begins to sled down out of control.
Hmm.
With uh, Jesse, who the guy from earlier, McCord, and
Hmm.
Mr. Baxter are stuck to it because they're like tied up to it.
Hmm.
Um, and because they just started making some money from these travelers, the machine plows straight through the hotel wall, both sides, right out in one, out the other. More damage, all of their hard work
Yeah.
gone. And it causes all the skiers to have to check out and leave. Anything about that? Or are we gonna keep going
No.
back? He goes back to the bank to talk to Ridgway about getting an extension, and Ridgway only.
Just keeps trying to warn him about Ridgway.
Mhm. Well, he's a Disney villain.
Yeah. Not like his dad.
So again, Ridgway is like, I will buy it from you for $200, which will give you enough expenses to get back to where you came from.
Yeah. For the boys' home.
Mm-hmm.
For the boys' home.
And he's like, no, he turns him down. But as he's leaving the bank, he sees a sign for the annual snowmobile race. First prize, $2,500.
Hmm.
But because of the whole ordeal, we learn that Wally is hurt. So Raleigh can't race in this snowmobile race. So of course, Mr. Baxter is going to have to drive in his place.
Yeah. And you have to have two
You
people.
have to have two people on it, so he has McCord join him. But it's his first time ever riding a snowmobile, and he has like this like makeshift put together snowmobile.
And his wife.
And his wife is
not
nope,
happy.
the disapproval of his family, and Mrs. Baxter again threatens to just leave him. Like she's like, I'm done with this. I'm going back to New York. Like, what are you doing?
You're ridiculous.
But Baxter is going to race in the makeshift snowmobile. And one of the other competitors slash the person that's one of the last 2 years is who would you guess?
Ridgway.
Ridgway.
Did you guess that? Let us know.
So I'll start this off by saying it starts off with a bunch of hijinks. Jesse falls off of the snowmobile. They have to go back and get him. It ends up being like a snow start to the race, and then as they're racing, as you would expect in the Disney movie, there is a ton of hijinks. And I'm going to turn it over to my friend KJ here to discuss all of the hijinks that happened in this race. It was very much like a scene of Dastardly and Muttley Wacky Racers, but go ahead.
Well, I didn't take any notes on it because I was laughing hysterically the entire time. Um, so at one point, Jesse falls off and Baxter has no idea that he's not even on. And then at one point he passes him and he's like, "How did you get ahead of me? Never mind, get on." And then they keep going. Obviously, Ridgeway is leading this pack. And it's kind of, I've never seen a snowmobile race, so I don't really know what it's supposed to look like. But it kind of looked like it was set up like a ski thing where you have to go in between poles in certain areas.
Yeah.
Lots of hijinks. Snowmobiles crashing everywhere. Uh, People getting wiped out and then out of the race. You still have Ridgeway winning. At one point, somehow Baxter and Jesse end up in complete and total darkness. And then one of them says, "Are we dead? It's getting hotter." And I'm sitting here thinking, great, they're in hell. That's probably what they think.
Mr. Told You Wild Ride.
Yeah. Um, and then Baxter's like, wait, I think we're still moving. And Jesse's like, yeah, wait, we must be in da 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 mine,
In the
whatever kind of
mines.
mine it was. And he's like, yeah, so they did a mine under this mountain the whole way through and never found anything. So it's just like a worthless mine. And then all of a sudden they come out the other side and this puts them ahead of Ridgeway.
Mhm.
And you're like, yes, pulling for the underdog, they're gonna win. Um, Lots more hijinks goes on. Um, it looks like they're gonna win. They've lost.
At this point, they've lost their skis.
They lost one ski, so they only have one
Yeah.
left. And then all of a sudden, like they're coming up on the finish line,
They are ready to win.
and they lose their steering, so they can't steer, and it ends up going off the track, and then somehow on the other side of the finish line, and then Ridgeway's coming down, and they're like, "Oh, he's gonna win again, third year or fourth year in a row, I can't remember." And Jesse's like, "Oh no, we didn't come this far to not." He's like, "Get up, let's pull it." And at that point, they have no skis. Like the skis have fallen off this thing. Needless to say, Ridgeway wins.
Yeah, but the best part though, Ridgeway does win, but the best part is the Baxter and McCord are like ready to win with no skis. Like they are like ahead to win.
Mhm.
And then there's somebody because there's no skis on it turns and they just like people aren't watching, it's not gonna make sense, but like they're like milli-inches away from
Winning.
like breaking the rope or breaking like the tape and like their thing just like turns and they just like ride like right next to the thing. Like all they had to do was like
Ridgeway comes through and wins.
all they had to do was like is like breathe on it and they would have won.
Ridgeway actually crashed himself
Yeah.
and then like fixes it. And then you see that it's nighttime, and then all of a sudden, um, Baxter is coming through with his snowmobile on some kind of like sled looking like thing being pulled by a horse.
Yep.
And everybody is gone, but his wife is there and she's like hitchhiking and she's like, "Hi, I'm glad I married you." And I'm just like, it's true love there. You
Right.
married a loser.
Okay.
Because he legit came in last.
You sure did. But if you cross the finish line of the Boston Marathon in last place, you still finished the Boston Marathon. So
It's true. I don't know if he ever actually crossed the line.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if it.
So, but that night when they're all sulking, Ridgeway shows up and he's bringing a quick claim deed to Mr. Baxter to buy the hotel because otherwise he's going to be forced into foreclosure. He's very much gloating in the process. He has the money from winning. He has the pride from winning, and now he has a quick claim deed. And this is where his secretary, the way that you were talking about earlier, decides that she's had enough, and he tells the real secret of why Ridgeway wants the property, and it is because there's acres and acres and acres of trees that go with the property. And basically,
Not a boys' home.
basically there was like some sort of loophole. I kind of didn't understand it because it kind of moves quick. There's like some sort of loophole.
So
It's
Jesse
like the
had made a deal with the town. He said, "I'll give you this land if you build a church and a library," and there might have been one other building that
Well-
he was supposed to have built if I loan you this land.
not yet.
Yes.
First, the trees belonged to the Native Americans of the
Yeah.
property, and then once like their tribe was gone, it falls next in line.
Yes. And then Okay, yeah, because there was two different deals.
Yeah,
So that was the first deal.
so all those trees now belong to the estate of the property because the tribe
The
had
tribe
moved.
had left.
So then they own all these trees, and there's like whatever. There was some sort of fur, whatever that can get a bunch of money.
Yeah, and then I don't remember if it was Jesse or Wally, and then I think the secretary backed whoever it was that set it up next was the second deal.
Yeah,
Who
so McCord,
had talked about, well, he also gave the town its land and said, you can have this no cost as long as you build a library, a
Hospital.
church, yeah, a hospital, and that was it. I think it was those three things. And then apparently one or two of those was missing. Like there was no
there was no
library.
library.
And I don't know if there was a church. Maybe there wasn't a church. And then they're like, well, technically that went against the thing. So you technically could own all of the whole town of Silver Hill,
Yeah,
which means you would own the bank that Ridgeway owns.
yeah. So it was convoluted. So at first they're like,
And then you see Ridgeway's face just fall.
yeah.
Like, oh no.
So yeah, so to kind of lay it out because it was confusing. At first they're like, oh well, no, no, no. Like you do have money because you own all these trees, and
Mhm.
then through that, Baxter's like still like, I'm gonna buy this from you.
Mhm.
Like
I'm gonna
don't
force
listen to her.
foreclosure.
Yeah, don't listen to her. We're gonna foreclose, whatever.
Just bullying his way.
And then that's when McCord, the crazy older gentleman from the whole entire film, who's like the comic relief of the whole entire film,
Mhm.
was like, well, actually, the estate actually owns the whole entire town because it was given by whatever the
Miss
gentleman.
Wigginton, that's the secretary.
Yeah, the person that passed away, who's the great uncle or whatever, um, gave the land to the whole entire town
Hmm.
as long, but they could have it as long as they built XYZ.
Hmm.
And Ridgeway's still like, well,
And the library was the one thing that wasn't there.
and then that's when the son, um,
And that
Johnny Whitaker,
shows
like the
that
son,
Silver Hill is in violation of that.
because the son is like, Dad, listen to me, and he's like, No, I don't have time. And he's finally like, There's
Never
no,
listens to him.
and then he's finally like, There's no library, and they're like, Oh my gosh, there's no library, which means that it's default and defunct, so it actually belongs to the Baxter family. So they
Mhm.
actually own the whole entire town, and they actually own Homeboy's bank. So
Mhm.
then, so yeah, Mr. Baxter's son makes the point about the loopholes. They do own the whole entire town, and now Ridgeway suddenly is okay with lending all the money to fix up the resort.
Yeah.
So it's a happily ever after. But before we can get to a happily ever after, uh, Mr. and Mrs. Baxter and family decide that they're gonna go skiing to celebrate. Jesse McCord is sledding next to them with the dog in a bathtub. He's in the bathtub and the dog is attached to the thing.
Yeah.
Which then ends up knocking Mr. Baxter down, and he goes down the hill backwards.
Again.
And there's more hijinks, and that's the end of this film. Did I miss anything else
No, I
about
don't
the Snowball Express from December of 1972, deep
Yeah,
dive
I
number
don't
108?
think I was gonna like it, but then I wasn't really sure because I had never heard of it. And then you said lots of people had said this was like one of their favorite films. So then I kind
I
of had
was
high hopes going into it.
I was talking to this is completely pulling the curtain back, and for our listeners that actually care, this is nothing. But I was talking to the mother of one Mr. Andy Has a Band from our
Mhm.
theme song last night, and she was telling me that she remembers this and loves this film.
Mhm.
And she's like, of the age that this film would be awesome for her. So she was all excited.
I thought it was awesome for me.
I know, but I was saying like it was like out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Like she remembers it like when it
mhm.
came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously we weren't alive yet, but
December of 1972.
yeah, floating around somewhere. Well, I mean, technically,
Your parents were young.
I mean, my mom was 2 at that point.
My parents were 12. But yeah, go ahead, back to you.
Anyway.
Um,
Um, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a nice little surprise. It's great, kind of like Napoleon and Samantha when you have never heard of a film before and you watch it and you just instantly fall in love with it.
Mhm.
So I definitely thought it, I had high hopes when you said it like was loved by many people. But I wasn't sure how much I would like it, and it was definitely very refreshing
Yeah, it was a laugher for sure.
from some of the ones that we have watched.
Um, so that being said, do you have any
Mhm.
extra facts, or what did IMDb say? What did you say? Stuff like that.
So IMDb gave it a 6.3 out of 10.
Okay,
I gave it a 7 out of 10.
cool. So then does it I was gonna make a snowball pun, but I'm gonna change it over to it's the 4th of July, so does it firework and explode and make an impact onto your list upon a star?
It snowballed its way onto my
Oh my gosh,
list.
that's no fun. Continue. Go ahead.
Um,
So your list upon a star
yes.
after the year 1972.
So unfortunately, that means that that darn cat has now melted off of my list.
It's true. Number 10, gone.
You're welcome, Jeff.
So, hey, whatever. Again,
Right.
on our adventure, that every Disney film that we've watched so far has had some sort of animal. You're replacing the cat
That darn
for the
cat.
dog.
Yeah,
So
for
go
a
ahead.
Saint Bernard. All right, so
The 200-pound chicken. But yeah, go ahead.
number one, I have 101 Dalmatians. Number two, I have The Parent Trap. Number three, I have Sleeping Beauty. Number four, I have Dumbo. Number five, I have Napoleon and Samantha. Number six, I have Snowball Express.
Dang. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Seven, I have The Jungle Book. Uh, eight, I have The Aristocats. Nine, I have Lady and the Tramp. And 10, I have Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah, so this was enjoyable. It's a high. That's a high watermark.
I know.
But it is not making my list upon a
If you can
star.
make me laugh that hard, it's hard to make me
It's
laugh.
it's not making my list upon a star. My list upon a star, through 108 films is still staying 101 Dalmatians, followed by Mary Poppins, followed by Peter Pan, followed by Alice in Wonderland, followed by Bedknobs and Broomsticks,
Mhm.
followed by Babes in Toyland, followed by Napoleon and Samantha, as you said, followed by the Aristocats, then Pinocchio, then The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. For our visual learners, we will put that right here. And yeah, so we've made it through the year 1972.
Trucking right along.
We are trucking right along. We started in the year 1937, which we no longer have any films from the 30s on our list upon a star because I rehomed Snow White. But anyway, we are going to be moving over to the year 1973
Mhm.
for film number 109. And that film is called The World's Greatest Athlete. And no, it is not about Michael Jordan. Because it's the decade before that was a thing. But either way, thank you for watching. We are on Instagram if you want to give us a follow.
Mhm.
Deep Dive in the Magic. We are on YouTube
Mhm.
where you could see all the lovely things that we have going on. We are on Spotify, which I think if you play your cards right, you could also see things correctly and you
Yep.
could hear our lovely voices. I did hear that there is some sort of hiccup going on in Spotify right now, so if it's behind. I'm sorry, but we are on Spotify and we're on the email, deepdiveinthemagicpod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to know if you liked this film. We would love to know how things are going. Thank you for telling your friends. I hope everyone had a safe, fun, magical, whatever you want to say. I'm trying to think of a pun. I couldn't. 4th of July.
A
Uh,
booming 4th of
booming
July.
4th of July. Uh,
Sorry for our little furry friends. It's not going to have a good night, but
Yeah. But
we're here for
we
you.
are floating over to the year 1973 for the 109th film of The World's Greatest Athlete, which we will see you then. Um, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.